is your relationship with time? Are you wired and tired, stressed and overwhelmed, busy and going nowhere? Or just want to scale your business? Welcome to Take Back Time with your host, Penny Zenker. Penny focuses on books, strategies, tools, and tips to help you work smarter and approach your time more strategically. As a result, you can have more energy, focus, and get more done in less time. Be more efficient and effective. Get ready to take back time.
Hello, and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zenker, and I'm your host. And today, we are going to talk about how you can work smarter and in the best way, which is to really know how to delegate and work with virtual assistants. So this is an area that is completely underutilized by so many business owners because we don't want to lose control. But the fact is we gain so much more control when we actually let go, and especially let go of the things that aren't on our highest priority and get other people who have the skill set to do those things so that we can do where our genius is. So Robert Nickell is here to talk to us today about that. He's an accomplished real estate investor. He's a realtor and serial entrepreneur in business process outsourcing industry. That's the industry we're talking about. And certainly it's come from his real estate side. He's the CEO of a Dallas-based Rocket Station is the name of the company, and he founded it in 2018. So without further ado, Robert, I'd like to introduce you and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Penny, for having me. I love the show. Big fan. Listen to a bunch of episodes, obviously, and enjoy what you're doing and appreciative of you and all that you're doing, and really thankful to be here today.
Awesome. Well, you're speaking our language, right? You're working. You solved a problem for yourself, it sounds like, and then you decided to scale that so that other people could solve the same problem. Tell us about what your problem was and what drew you to outsourcing.
Yeah, I quit my W-2 job 2 years out of college and jumped right into real estate, thinking that I was going to be some massive real estate mogul. And, I had all the Instagram and Facebook posts about what it takes to be an entrepreneur and grinding, and all of a sudden you just make your millions of dollars. That's what I was hoping to do pretty early out of the gates. And I had to learn a lot of tough lessons. And unfortunately, I don't learn very well from just, reading books and podcasts and audiobooks, even though I spend a ton of time doing that. Most of my learning comes from experience and getting kicked in the teeth and then adjusting. Right. And that's really, so for me within real estate, I was a one-man show for a while, and real estate was
How was that working for you?
Yeah, it wasn't.
The lone wolf syndrome, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you can look at all the studies in real estate, and basically what it shows is the people who make the most amount of money work the most amount of hours. Like the number of transactions that you can close is directly correlated to how many hours you work. And at first that was fine. I think it was really good for my ego to be able to post about it, how hard I was working and in the gym at 4 a.m. so I could fit it in and all those types of things. But then I, like everyone else, pretty quick realized that, real estate was just a vehicle. It's just a tool. And what I really wanted was to be a better brother or better spouse or better uncle to my nephews. And that's what I really wanted, was the business to serve the life that I really wanted. And what happened for me is I was serving the business every single day. I was working 60, 70, sometimes 80, 90 hours a week, trying to get more done. And I'd hit a wall. I basically was ready to go back to my W-2 job because it was a whole lot easier to wake up and work 8 to 5 for somebody else. And even if you've got a great job with a lot of responsibility, you can still kind of turn it off when you go home if you choose to. And
let me just stop you there for a second. Hello, who is listening here that goes, I've been there, right? You've been to that moment where you're like, you know what? I think I'd earn more if I worked based on the app per hour, right? Where you just hit that wall. So that's something that so many people have experienced, or they're in the process of trading that time for money, and their mind just says, just work a few more hours and you'll work yourself out of it, right? Well, you'll finally get control over it. What would you say to those people?
Well, I would say first, I totally understand that, right? You put so much into your business. We, as entrepreneurs, we all eat, sleep, and breathe our business. So at some point it becomes kind of hard to separate yourself. But what I had to realize, and I was lucky to have some great mentors that kind of showed me the way, was if I wanted a hard ceiling above me, if I wanted to be very limited in what I could accomplish and get done, then sure, be the one-man show, be the lone wolf,
Right.
and serve your ego, and that can work out fine, right? You can, within limits, you can have a successful business depending on how you define success. But for me, again, I was lucky to have people who were much more successful than I was around me. And they were just kind of always showing me the way that, like, hey man, you're crazy. Like, you're totally doing this the wrong way. And so what I started trying to do initially, Penny, was just hire people. I started with friends from college and then tried to hire some family and just make it happen that way. And I became
And how does it work working with friends and family? Is that a good idea?
It kind of depends. I would say today, yes, it's great. I've got, my dad works for me and my brother works for me. And it's a great thing. It's awesome. But again, I had to learn some hard lessons. And I was the guy for a while that was walking around after some failed hires talking about how terrible managing people was and how hard it was to find really good people and just whining and complaining. And I had to kind of look in the mirror at some point and realize the problem was not the people in my office. The problem was me. And that just became super clear that I didn't have there wasn't any structure. There was no systems and processes in place. And what I truly believe is that people want to do a good job. People want to come in and have success in the workplace. But I feel like very few people actually are in a working environment where there's enough structure, where there's enough accountability in place, and there's enough systems and processes in order for people to truly be successful. I don't like to guess when I show up to work every day, and I know that my employees don't either. And so the big lesson I had to learn early on, being totally candid, I wish I just knew these things from the beginning, was that just because I could fly by the seat of my pants every day doesn't mean that my employees can do that and be successful. And that definitely wasn't what I needed from them. And that's the way it was. I'd hire people and just come in. I'd expect them to just kind of figure it out. And I hated driving into work every day, Penny, because I knew that my entire day was going to be spent telling people how to do their jobs. And I felt like I could just do it better myself if I just did it than telling somebody what to do all day. And that is just such a backwards way of thinking. If you start with the end in mind, you actually develop scopes of work for how tasks are supposed to be done, then all of a sudden hiring people becomes so much easier. And that, we looking at our company today, we have over 800 employees and we're doing some amazing things with amazing clients here that are range from publicly traded companies. We started in real estate and we have a bunch of real estate clients, but today we're in almost every industry you can think of, from SaaS to customer service companies to, we work with some of the CRM companies and pretty much anything you can think of. And that success, people always like to look at the human capital, right? They like to look at the virtual sense of the number of employees that we have and point to that as the success. But really our foundation for our success is built on systems and process documentation. So we are truly workforce management experts. And that's what I had to figure out at the beginning, is how to document every single task for everything that was happening in the business. And then, Penny, I had a roadmap. Now I've got, swim lanes for people to operate in and know exactly how they should operate, what buttons to press when, how they should operate the CRM, how to be successful in the day. And that's what really changed things for us. So the people like to talk about the number of our team members, but what we're most proud of today is the structure that we get to place in people's businesses. And that's the foundation to success, I really believe.
Absolutely. So people aren't sure how this works if they've never done outsourcing. So, and every company is different the way they outsource, right? So I'm just curious, the way that you said it made it seem like, when an organization hires one of your team, let's say in CRM, for instance, that they will get some process that you may already have some established processes that company could take and modify so that they don't have to start from scratch. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we force everybody through a two-step process. And again, it doesn't matter if you're publicly traded or you're a solo member LLC. We push everybody through the same process. And that first step is just an alignment and discovery phase. We want to know the ins and outs of your business. Everybody operates a little bit different. We multiple SaaS companies producing similar type products, but they still operate very, very differently. So the first thing we want to do is just really understand you and your business. And then we actually do the documentation of your systems and process. We create a scope for everything that's going on in the business. And that's really what defines what we term a job description. So most people create job descriptions and it's kind of everything they could ever think of. And it's, well, that's not really something you can really work off of, nor can you hire that, because that would usually be some random unicorn sitting out there that could just do all these random tasks that came out of your head. So the first thing that we do is and again, we work with some really large companies and they're terrible at having scopes, at having systems and processes in place. And it's usually because they've got great management and great leadership teams. But whenever it comes to actual tactical execution of building scopes, and people hear that word systems all the time, systems, we all get tired of hearing it. But what that really means for us, it's just a documented, repeatable process. So we create those systems for every one of our clients as step one. And then step two is identifying, for if you're working with us, we identify 3, 4, 5, or as many candidates as you need to interview that are perfect fit for that role or multiple roles if they need to wear multiple hats. But the finding the people becomes a whole lot easier because we've built the system and process structure at the beginning. So those are really the 2 steps we push everybody.
That's interesting. So you have a step that a lot of other outsourcing companies don't have. Like, a lot of, if you go to I can name, a handful that I'm aware of, you'd say what the role is or what the task was you were looking for, and they would find somebody to meet that. So there's very little in the discovery phase of them creating the process or the scope and then going and finding the person that meets that. So there's very little in that initial interaction phase. So that's really interesting to me, that I think that would deliver a much higher quality fit.
Yeah, well, from a couple standpoints. One is we're truly a partner with you. We're invested in your success. It's about long-term results and creating win-win. And so we're not just trying to throw bodies at a problem. We don't think that that's a very good way to run a business. We want to have data around your business, what's actually happening. We do time studies on everything. So we want your phone records. If you're using Zendesk or whatever CRM you're using, we want to export all your records, do a time study to say how many human hours should it take to actually complete all these tasks. That's in alignment with what's actually taking place, because so many times the businesses that come to us, they're not even really sure how many people or what type of profile it would be to fit or solve these problems. And us, we're experts in that. So we're not just going to have you guessing every day. We're going to walk you through a strategic process that you're driving, you're in control, it's your business, but we're just supporting you in every way possible so that we can really set you up for success. And then we stay with you for the life of the account. So we never leave you, and we support you it doesn't matter if you have one person, or some of our bigger clients have closer to 60 of our team members doing multiple things. So, but we really look at it truly as a partnership, and we invest in your end results and your outcomes. And as a result of that, we feel like that's where the magic really happens.
One of the things that I see a lot in CEOs, leaders, organizations, as they think about putting these documents together and outsourcing is, you said it earlier, it just seems like I could do it myself and it's going to invest so much time, right? Sometimes it's just that big, it's just more work, right? And am I really going to get at the end the result that I'm looking for? So I'd like you to address the more work up front, because it is, right? I mean, it is more work up front to do that. And I'd like you to talk about the results, the type of results that you could expect to see over time, so that people understand what type, that it's not a cost, it's an expense. I mean, it's an investment. Excuse me.
Yeah, totally understand what you're saying. And I was one of those people who didn't have very good documented processes. And it's because I'm great at sales, I'm great at client interactions, I'm great with the outward facing things. But when it came to back office support and actually running the day-to-day operations, I personally just wasn't great at that. Being told, all entrepreneurs and business people like to act like we're great at everything. The truth is there's only a handful of things that we're actually great at, and the rest of it we just kind of force through and make it happen, right? But so I can totally
and at a cost, right? I think that's also important to say. It's at a cost of our satisfaction. Totally. It's at a cost to the the speed at which it could be done or the quality at which it could be done. So there's a cost when we try to do
and then the
everything
results, right? It's just like there's no way you can be great at everything. And if you are, then to me, that's a problem, because that means you don't have the right people in place, because
Right.
you shouldn't be. So what happens as a result of documenting every single thing, it's really a couple things. The first thing is you get amazing clarity and alignment into what's actually happening through your organization day in, day out. I like to laugh because when I go pick up my nephew from school and I ask him what he did that day, he can't hardly tell me. I have to pry. It's Tuesday, it's music. Did you do music? Oh, yeah, today was music. And then he goes on and he can tell me about it. Well, employees and probably most business owners are the same way themselves. Whenever I ask them, hey, how was your day? I get the same response. Busy, good, it was good, busy. Well, what'd you do today? They're almost offended, but they can't really tell you because they're on meetings, their calendars back to back. They're just kind of putting out fires all day long. And so the first thing that documenting everything, first thing it really does is it kind of identifies what's happening all day, every single day. And if that doesn't create some awareness, I'm not really sure what is, because I like to think whenever my employees are leaving their houses every day, they're making pretty big promises to their family that the time spent away from home is going to be worth it, right? So we want to have a lot of clarity and structure around what success is supposed to look like, what the outcomes are, and what's actually happening all day. So you get tons of clarity in that process. The second thing is you will get more efficient.
I want to stop you for a second there and just jump in on a comment. I also start with almost everyone that I work with a time study, because I think that awareness is like an aha for people. It's like when you have to do a diet study, right? To see everything that you're eating, a food journal. It creates that heightened awareness to where you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize that I was wasting so much time in this area. Or it just really opens your eyes up to, are you spending it where it's most important? So I want to re-emphasize that it's
and that solves a lot of your management problems, right?
Absolutely.
Because nobody likes to be micromanaged, and micromanage is usually a result of lack of structure in the organization. So if there's fires happening or there's micromanaging, then usually that's just opportunity to create, downstream solutions, right? Where we make sure and solve problems before they happen. A fire is just a great opportunity to put problem solving methods in place to make sure that the fires don't happen again, right?
Absolutely.
Unless you're somebody who needs that significance and importance to feel like Superman all the time. I mean, it's just not a great way to do it. Well,
Right.
Management's the same way. It's like managing to tasks, I think, is a terrible way to lead your team, but managing to outcomes is now that's leadership, in my opinion. And when you view management as leadership, where you're just empowering your teams to be successful, now all culture and everything else that people want to talk about just seems to happen because you've got great management leadership skills and abilities in place, just because you've got systems and processes. Now your team can come in and know what success looks like, and they can still depend on you as the leader for visionary things and to ask questions and for review and those types of things.
Absolutely.
But
Yes.
micromanaging just no longer becomes a thing. So another thing that having great systems and processes does, it provides a safety net for your organization. Turnover is one of the most painful, expensive things that happens in any company, and none of us can avoid it. I'm super proud of our tenure of our employees. I mean, amazingly proud. We had over 99% attendance rate last year and very little turnover, almost none that wasn't what we call forced turnover, where we were, replaced some people from just voluntary reasons. But man, if you don't have documented systems and processes and there's not a lot of structure in your organization, then turnover is terrible. I mean, there's nothing more painful than that. But if you've got a lot of structure in place, whenever you turn somebody over and you put a new person in place, getting them onboarded and up to speed, I won't just say it's a snap and super easy, because that would be a lie, right? But it is so much easier, and it almost is that easy to do it, because now you've got clarity, now you have structure in place, and someone can pick up where someone else left off instead of starting over from scratch again. So those are just a few reasons why having the systems and processes are so important. But I mean, we could spend an entire episode just talking about the benefits that you get from having documented task management from every single thing that's happening.
Absolutely. Well, I also love the fact that you do it for people. You'll do the discovery, and that you'll do it because, a lot of people I don't have the skills. I hate doing that. We just don't we're not good at that. So the fact that you're focusing on delivering something that you guys are good at means that you can create it quicker and you can collect the information that you need to get that into place.
And it'll be usable, right? So many times people come to us what they think is completed systems or processes or completed scopes.
Yeah.
And you hand that to someone else to go execute those tasks, and they fall down within the first couple steps because it's not truly documented well enough. And it sounds silly, but I mean, just to give somebody a username and password, there's so many steps that go into that, to identifying the website they're logging into, where to get into the portal, because oftentimes it's a multi-step process, and then entering username and password. Man, I never, ever, ever want to see the conversations in any of our chat threads about asking for user access or things like that. But it's just one of those things where the number of details that have to be in place in order for those documents to be usable by your team, that's where most people really fail. They get the kind of general big picture stuff together, but they just make too many assumptions along the way to actually hand that off and somebody be able to execute those tasks.
So what's the time frame that somebody needs, if they want to plan for this and say, okay, I really, I can see the value and have somebody come in and help me to document some of our processes for our employees or to hire somebody. What's that step one?
Yeah, we call it a 2 to 3 week time frame to actually get somebody up and running. So the first step is having your systems and processes documented, which takes about a week. If you're working multiple departments and multiple different tasks, that can take us a couple weeks to kind of map everything out. And we're also coming back to you consistently to get feedback to make sure that you like everything we're putting together. And that also comes in a couple forms. You're getting PDF documents that have step-by-step with all the screenshots and arrows and everything that you've seen before. But we also help record videos and do actual training as well, so that teams can just watch that without asking questions. So a week to 2 weeks to get that set up. And usually 3 to 5 business days to actually identify the right team member, interview, and then get them running. So within 30 days, you can have everything documented and processed within your organization, have a team member up and running, and be having some success.
That's a reasonable time frame, right? It's not debilitating, because I think people have a different scale of what that could take. And I mean, sometimes it's a little faster. I mean, we can get people up and running because we've got a huge infrastructure around recruiting and training. I mean, we're screening 4,000 applicants a month. We're hiring less than 2% of those people. Usually the skill sets that people are looking for are pretty common, right? And the baseline is like English proficiency, communication skills, and the ability to perform those tasks. So we're taking care of all of that. They're our employees. They get full benefits. They get healthcare, all the things that any employee would need to be successful, because we want them to show up distraction free and just crush it every single day in their job. And the way we have found to do that is to really take care of our employees. So I meant it when I said we're a partner with our clients. And that's because in a huge way, we're eliminating all the HR liability and headaches that come with actually hiring and managing team members. But the process, it can be a couple weeks if it's something that's super simple for us, meaning that it's just we're basically replicating. But it can take a few weeks longer if it's something that is a little more specialized or takes a little more additional training. So the team members, they've been on our platform for almost 2 months before they ever even go into the interview pool. We're training, we're profiling, we're segmenting those teams, putting them within management leadership groups. And then by the time you're interviewing somebody, you can be confident that they would be a rock star for that role. We just want it to be a personality fit, because they're going to be dedicated to you, and we want you to like who you're working with every day and be excited about coming into the office, and personality plays a big role in that. So we'll match skill sets. We'll make sure that person has everything that they need to be successful. And it's just up to you to pick the person that you're excited about to join your team. So let me ask you a couple of questions that I ask everybody who comes on the show, because I like to hear the variety of different answers and string them together. So if you were to define productivity, how would you define that and why?
Productivity is all about just efficiently getting to your outcome. Everybody's got a little bit different definition of success depending on what their business looks like. For us, we're getting clients up to speed as quickly as possible. So productivity is all the steps in the day that it takes to get our clients from the onboarding phase to implementation, right? Systems and processes are important, but the actual implementation is what it's all about. So productivity for us is getting people to the productivity phase, which is actually implementing the systems and process that we're helping them create. And so success is just efficiently getting to productivity in our minds.
Great. And for you personally, right? Because you've gone through this journey to create your own level of productivity. So in the way that you do things outside of the outsourcing and delegating and having someone else do that, because we've been talking about that the whole time, what's your shortcut? What makes you most productive?
I think there's a couple things. One is I've kind of mentioned it before, but I've always surrounded myself with people who are truly more successful and better at life than me in every way. Better spouses, better uncles and brothers and nephews and cousins. I want to be around people who are truly rock star human beings. And so I'm always surrounding myself with people that have it together both personally and professionally. I know a lot of people who do really well professionally and don't have a great personal life. Right. I know people who have a great personal life that don't do as well professionally as I think they should. So the old cliche that you become the five people you surround yourself the most is what you become. I fully believe that. So I think that coaching is essentially the only real shortcut in life. And as an adult, that's how I get most of my coaching, is just through being around amazing people. And the second thing is I define success as how little I'm involved in my day-to-day. So productivity to me is about nobody depending on me throughout the day for anything to do their job. So I basically was out of the office the last 2 weeks and everything ran smooth. Come into the office today on Monday and people are almost asking me why I'm there. To me, that is success, right? I want to drive the vision. I want to drive the org chart is really important to me. Who's in which position? The numbers really, really matter to me. But the daily task, if I'm involved in that, then that's kind of my definition of lack of efficiency and productivity for me personally.
Okay, awesome. Is there a tool that you say is your go-to tool? Because for whatever reason, people, even though it's not really about the tools, people love their tools. So what do you got that you love?
So as a company, we started outsourcing in 2013 in the industry's BPO, business process outsourcing. When we first started, we were a mess of systems and tools. We had Google Drive with Google Sheets and lots of spreadsheets. We had Slack as our communication tool. We had RingCentral as Slack as chat, RingCentral as voice, and had some video through RingCentral as well. But and mostly though Skype is what we used for video. So we had 5 tools that we were using day in, day out. And I am thrilled to death that today we pretty much encompassed every single one of those into Zoom. So Zoom's our voice over IP, it's our chat tool, and it's also our video tool. And so we got to take 3, cut it down to 1. And I'm just so thankful of all the investment Zoom's had to make because of the pandemic and all these things, because it's gotten so much better very quickly. So pressure has been a great thing for them. But having chat, video, and our phone system all into one tool as Zoom has just it's been amazing for us.
So how do you, maybe there's a function in Zoom I'm not aware of. So when you're not online together, is there a chat function through Zoom?
Oh yeah, we've got every department has their own individual group chats, and then we have company-wide chats for both just internal leadership, and then we've got it for the entire company.
I didn't even know Zoom had that.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. And that to me is one of the big things about managing and leading virtual teams is the over communication aspect. Yeah. When you're in an office, communication kind of just seems to flow. I mean, try to keep a secret in a traditional office and it's wall to wall before lunchtime, right? Right. And I want to replicate that type of environment. And we do that essentially through our chat feature in Zoom because everybody's in groups. So for example, when you log in each day, everybody says good morning and hello and shares some pleasantries. Yes, that's nice, but it's also an accountability structure where you know exactly when everybody's logging in. We do the same thing when end of day, everybody checks out at the end of the day and says goodbye because we're replicating that feeling of knowing exactly when people leave the office because everybody's aware in a normal office when people are working, when they're not. So we have a lot of transparency. And we also celebrate wins that would normally feel small or like we're just in the minutia. And the reason for that is each department, each team member, by celebrating all day long, not just wins, but also roadblocks as well, they're sharing exactly what's happening. Now we've got amazing alignment throughout the teams. Everybody knows exactly where everyone else is, what they're working on, where they're having success and where they're not. And it really replicates that communication feel of being in an office. So that over communication piece and using a tool like Zoom in the chat rooms and having people update constantly in there is a huge reason I think that we have such great culture, because everybody's so clear on what everybody else is doing all the time.
It's great. Do you find that people are finding it a bit overwhelming to be, I mean, you've been working probably remotely with everybody anyway, right? For some context, but I've seen people just explain that they felt this overwhelm from having to check in so often, and you can hear something at the office if you want to, but you can also stay out of it. But if you're being required to filter through the chat, it can be quite time consuming and can, just like being in social media or something, it can just suck away half your time.
Yeah, and not to sound like I'm on repeat here, but that's where clear structure and processes come in place. And so, yeah, Zoom fatigue's a real thing, right? We all get kind of tired of being on camera all the time. And we've got a system for the way we communicate. Their chat is the majority of it. We do video anytime there's team meetings or one-on-one things happening, but we're not videoing all day long. We don't require our clients to use video. We prefer it, but we don't require it. So for us, email communication is simply external. So anytime we're dealing with external accounts, third-party contractors or clients, then we obviously use email because that's kind of the traditional method.
Right.
Internally, we do a lot of chat, but the chat is mostly within teams and groups, right? And those teams and groups, they have some rules about start of day, end of day, and when they post updates. For the most part, though, it's a pretty organic structure, and each team kind of takes on their own culture and their own group. And I like to think of it as like, yeah, exactly. I like to think of it as kind of like a locker room within each department. And it's kind of the same way in an office, right? Different people have different structure. And just like if you look at our IT threads, I mean, those guys just talk so much less than like the inside sales groups are just, the threads it's ridiculous. I don't know how they keep up because there's just so much happening in there every day. So they kind of take on a life of their own, and whoever's leading and managing those teams is obviously in charge and making sure of overseeing that. And then from my end, I just see all the numbers and reports. I'm in most of the chats, but I'd be lying to you if I ever said I read anything that was happening in there.
Right. Well, thank you so much for, all that you've shared today. Is there anything else that you didn't get a chance to share that you wanted to make sure you shared before we close out today?
No, I really appreciate it. Anything that I'm an open book. So anything you want to ask, just shoot me an email, let me know. Anybody who's interested in this, happy to spend time with them, whether they hire us or not. We are truly workforce management experts. So spend a little bit of time with us. And yeah, we're here for anybody, here to help in either one of those processes, whether it's finding people or system and process documentation. Happy to answer questions. There's some great information on the website. And I just really appreciate your time, Penny.
That's awesome. Give us your URL again so that everybody will pop it up in the show notes as well.
The website's just rocketstation.com. And so rocketstation.com, there's some good interviews on there. We have a couple sharks from Shark Tank that have been doing some cool stuff with us. So excited about that. Can check that out. And then there's also a schedule time now button. If anybody gets on there and talks to our sales team, make sure that they said that they heard us here on this podcast so that we can treat you guys special. And also we want to track that. So make sure and mention Penny's podcast here if you guys do reach out to us.
That's great. Thank you so much, Robert. You've been, really shared, and I really love the way that you do it. And I'm excited to check out more of your resources and to refer my clients to that process, because I know that that's an area that a lot of companies can really improve on is getting their documentation together.
Yeah, looking forward to talking to you more about it offline, and really appreciate you having me on today.
And thank you all for being here. I know you're scratching your head and you're going, not sure that I want to invest the time or that I can give up control and all of those things that we go through. And I promise you that you're going to get a new level of freedom if you just start small, right? Start with one position. Maybe you've got a new opening. Why not look at outsourcing and getting your documentation together for that position and then see where it goes from there? I can tell you that for myself and those that I've seen who are able to let go and use a virtual assistant or work with outsourcing companies, they have really been able to scale and expand that much quicker. And it enables the leaders like yourself, it enables you to focus on where your genius is. It allows you to really be more of that vision and push that vision forward and work more strategically so you don't get stuck in your business, that you're really managing overall, leading your business and getting the right structure in place so that everybody can thrive. And that's the name of the game. That's how you work smarter. So again, my name is Penny Zenker. This is Take Back Time. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening. Today's topic is another opportunity for you to put the knowledge you learned into practice. Tune in again next week for more strategies that will help you have more energy and focus to get more done in less time, so you can continue to take back time.